Hello ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. Welcome back, and in this video we're going to be talking about the newest release by Thierry Mugler, and this one goes by the name Angel Men Pure Tonka. Now this one was released of course in 2016, and the perfumer behind this one is Jacques Couklier. Jacques Couklier has done of course the original, which was released back in 1996. It's been 20 years now, hard to believe. He's also done all of the other flankers, including Ultra Zest, Pure Malt, Pure Havane, Pure Coffee, and now this one, Pure Tonka. This fragrance seems to go along with the recent trends in the perfume industry, which is to include a heavy dose of tonka bean in the fragrance. Of course, we have Versace Eros. In the niche realm, we also have Fève Délicieuse by Christian Dior. And we just see time after time, Paco Rabanne's Invictus, the list goes on and on. A lot of fragrances contain a very dominant note of tonka bean. Now, what I like about this one is that it actually does things a little bit differently. It doesn't utilize the tonka bean note in that same way that you're familiar with Versace Eros and Paco Rabanne's Invictus, that creamy, balmy tonka bean. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that, so please stay tuned. I'm really excited to tell you guys what I think. And also, this also possesses a vague aura of familiarity, so I'm going to talk about that as well. Nonetheless, this one is classified as an Oriental Fougere because of the note of lavender. Let's start things off with the presentation. So the box looks very similar to the other Angel Men fragrances. It has a sort of pinkish gold border around it. The name of the fragrance, name of the company right on top of that, or the name of the line, I should say, Thierry Mugler written down here at the bottom, size and concentration. On the very bottom is where you'll see the UPC, and it actually has the serial number printed right next to it. Kind of hard to tell because it's printed in black on top of black. On the back, you have a picture of the bottle, which is pretty accurate to how it looks in real life, nothing at the top, and then some more information on the side written in a couple different languages, as you can tell. And then here on the bottle, you have this sort of rubbery exterior. You have the ambery star on the inside. It's supposed to be pink. It has more of like a gold ambery hue. The sprayer, not my favorite, just because I don't really like Amen sprayers, but the distribution is okay as long as you compress it down quickly enough. And that was a presentation for Angel Men Pure Tonka by Thierry Mugler. John writes, reminds me of a mix of New Harlem and Fève Délicieuse. Eric says, while it's not listed as a note, I smell a lot of coconut in the dry down alongside the tonka. It's another fun departure in the Amen line. Randy says, the performance is solid, and I agree with others that it smells like a cookie after the opening. And Mirza writes, unnecessary flanker. Now, when I first sprayed this fragrance on, I immediately made a connection to another fragrance. And it left me thinking, is it going to stay like this, or is it going to change? And indeed the fragrance does change. When it dries down, it does resemble the original Angel Men a lot. You're going to have that patchouli caramel combination that the original possesses, but also that a lot of other flankers like Pure Leather possess as well. And I really like it for that reason, because I think it's a really good definition of a flanker. A fragrance that doesn't smell entirely like the original, but it has the original characteristic and DNA in there in the background. Now, in the opening, it does have a lot of other elements that sort of come together to make it its own unique fragrance. And I guess that's one thing that I was sort of hoping for, that Thierry Mugler would release a standalone fragrance. And I just think that the Ultra line and the Pure line is exhausted. I mean, when we look at the huge line of flankers that was released prior to this one, is just like, come on, do something different for once, you know? But at the end of the day, they are doing something different. I think what we crave and desire is for them to produce a fragrance that's packaged in a different bottle, different name, so that it's a fragrance that we can talk about and recognize as its own entity. And I think that's what we want. But nonetheless, let's talk about the smell. It opens up with this sweet, syrupy, creamy, sugary sort of a feel. It's what I know Immortelle has the tendency of doing in fragrances. It's a fragrance or it's a note, I should say, that's used a lot by Maurice Roussel, namely in fragrances like New Harlem by Bond No. 9. And it really gives it this sort of toasted, roasted, maple syrup sort of a vibe. And that's what the tonka bean smells like in here. Is there tonka bean? Is the name accurate? Yes, absolutely. There is this sort of roasted tonka bean note that is quite delectable, and it's very addictive. And I love it for that reason. I mean, I wore this like 4 days in a row. And I just got it, not to, forget to mention that, but it has this tonka bean note. It has a vanillic undertone that is not exclusive to this flanker. That actually comes from the original Angelman, and it's counterparted with this note of patchouli, which I think gives it that characteristic tar note that people always talk about the original, and it's definitely in here as well. But there are these gourmand ingredients in the opening, like also the note of coffee. You're going to have a great deal of coffee in here, which makes it evocative of Angelman Pure Coffee, and yeah, it does smell a lot like that one. But coffee is also a note in the original too, so there are a lot of notes that are carried over, except this one has that sweet maple syrup type of a note in the opening. It's sugary, it has a roasted quality as well, making this perfect for a night out, a party, a club, a bar, if you're hanging out with friends, if you're going on a date, if you have a sweet tooth and you're just craving something that's a little bit sweeter. I mean, this is a really good addition to the Angelman line, and I'm really happy for that. The only thing that struck me as a little disappointing is the fact that it does bear a lot of similarities to Rojas Man by Rojas. It also bears a lot of similarities to New Harlem by Bond No. 9. Bears a lot of similarities to Michael Jordan Legend by Michael Jordan. So at the end of the day, it's like, well, okay, they did something new, but did they do something different? And I think that's where I was really feeling conflicted. That it's almost as though my favorite part of this scent is like right in the middle as it's transitioning from intro to dry down, like that intermediary phase where it's like a unique fragrance of its own, right? Where it's in the middle of shifting. Because in the opening, it just reminds me a lot of New Harlem, and how uncanny that they take that gourmand characteristic, but then they also throw lavender in there, which is what Maurice Roussel did with New Harlem. So it's kind of like, it's a nod to New Harlem, but at the same time, I think it's a really nice change of pace in the Angelman line, and it was just a different variation on the gourmand. You know, when we think of gourmand, we think of edible ingredients, and they did something new with pure coffee, and then they did something different with ultra zest, and yes, citrus is edible as well, but here they went back to their roots, something different, but something familiar at the same time. Overall, I think it's a great scent. My wife loves it. She complimented me on it a couple of times. I like wearing it because it dries down to that original Amen. So it's kind of like if you're layering New Harlem with the original Amen, like this is what you're going to get. And in the dry down, yes, I will agree to a lot of other reviewers who say that it smells like cookies. It definitely has that roasted cookie, fresh out of the oven feel, drizzled with maple syrup, with maybe like a lavender plant in the background. Anyways, let's finish things off by taking a look at the rating. First up, I took a look at the uniqueness and overall smell, and it's not very unique. I mean, you have the original Amen, which has been done already, and then you have New Harlem by Bond No. 9, which has been done already. But the fusion of the two is something that's interesting, and it is a good variation in the Angelman line. And for that reason, although it's not entirely unique, I'd still have a great deal of appreciation for it. As far as longevity on this one goes, it's excellent. 10 plus hours. This was not soft on the skin. And I think that sort of falls in line with what we've come to expect from the Angelman line. All of the other flankers, including the original one in the original formulation as well as the reformulated version, we get excellent longevity. Projection is also up there as well. It radiates beyond an arm's length for 3 to 4 hours, starts sitting closer to the skin, it doesn't become a skin scent until about the 7th or 8th hour, which in my eyes is fantastic. Taking a look at the versatility, it's good but not excellent. Like I said, I would wear this in the colder weather, not in the hotter weather. I would wear it on a night out if I'm at a party, a club, or a bar, or maybe on a date or with friends, yeah, but probably not to work. It might be just a little bit too sweet. It might give people the wrong impression, but nonetheless, if you love it, wear it. There's really nothing holding you back. And as far as age range, it has a youthful appeal to it. I could see somebody all the way up in their 40s and 50s wearing it as well, especially in the dry down when that patchouli comes out. It becomes a little more mature, but mature is really not the right word to use for this one. It's very sweet. And then lastly, taking a look at the presentation, I think it's beautiful. Rubber flask. I mean, it's supposed to be a pink star. It kind of has an ambery feel to it. The box is really nice. Again, you know, it just looks like all other Angel Men fragrances. And then if I were to give this one an overall score, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. I think it's a really nice fragrance. Just a little disappointed by the fact that it does smell a lot like New Harlem, and I just find the combination of that syrupy accord in the opening with the lavender to be just a little uncanny, a little too uncanny. But nonetheless, it's a nice deviation from the Angel Men line, all the while it's still a flanker. I would love to see something new. So guys, thank you so much for watching. That was my review of Angel Men Pure Tonka by Thierry Mugler. If you owner have tried this scent, this really nice scent, please let me know what you think by leaving a comment down below. Also, please don't forget to rate and subscribe for future videos. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next episode. Take care, guys.